Thank you for your participation. My name is Ashley and I'm a student from Purdue University. And the purpose of us doing this is to help identify any usability issues on Craigslist. Please keep in mind we are not testing you, we are just testing Craigslist. You are welcome to make any comments while you're going through Craigslist. Anything you say will be a big help to us in our study. Please be aware that your screen and audio will be recorded so we can analyze the data. None of your information will be compromised or traced back to you. You have the option to quit at any time during this study. Are you all right with that?
Yes.
All right, so we are now recording. We would also like to record your consent before we do anything. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Before we begin, we would like to ask you some background questions. That's okay.
Okay.
What is your age?
21.
What is your gender?
Female.
What is your occupation?
Graphic designer.
If you are a student, what is your major?
Graphic design.
Okay, we are going to start by having you take a quick look at the site. During this first little pre-task, it is going to be very straightforward. I'm going to ask you a few simple questions regarding your thoughts about the website. It'd be great if you could be as honest and critical as possible. Remember, there are no wrong answers.
Okay.
Any feedback that you give is very appreciated. If there is anything, no matter how small it might be, that comes to mind, please share it with me. Lastly, before I begin, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
All right, before we start on the actual tasks, we would like you to explore the homepage and click around a little bit.
Okay.
So just anything you might see that perks your interest.
There seems to be a lot of text. It's kind of a text-heavy page. That's what I'm noticing. I like that they do display your location up here. And when I came onto the site, that's the first thing that they asked me was like, can I use your location? So at least they're asking you before they're just taking your location. But overall, it's a little bit confusing, especially here, like the event calendar. Like, I don't really understand what that means. And the search bar should definitely be somewhere at the top instead of over to the side on the sidebar. And there's also, like, a lot of use of just white space that, you know, could potentially be used elsewhere. I'm not sure. So it's a little bit confusing to look at right off the bat, I think.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question, was your overall first impression. So that's great that you described that already. There's definitely a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you dislike about the overall aesthetic of the homepage?
I think that they're doing okay with kind of the very simple, I don't even know if I would say branding, because they don't really have a sense of branding. If you notice, like, there's not a ton of cohesion among like the fonts that they're using and the layout. It's a little bit overwhelming. So I like that they do have a lot of options on the page, like for example switching it to English or to another language. So I feel like that could be helpful for a lot of users. I feel like a lot of websites like don't give you that option right off the bat, so that's like a user-friendly aspect, I think. But overall, they're lacking a lot of like visual content, so no photos, basically nothing that kind of tells you what kind of website it is. If I didn't have a previous idea of what Craigslist is, because I have used this before.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to ask you to take a look at the homepage and respond to some additional questions.
For sure.
These should not be too complicated, and remember, there are no wrong answers. Let me know if you have any questions before I begin.
Okay.
First task is to browse the homepage and find something that interests you.
Okay.
Before you start, I want to ask you, does this sound doable?
I think so.
On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the easiest and 5 being the hardest, how difficult do you think this task is?
To find something that interests me.
Mm-hmm.
Like a specific aspect of the website?
Like to navigate, if you are maybe looking for something in particular, or if you're just browsing, like how...
I would say if I had not used Craigslist before, it would be maybe like a 2.5 or 3 in difficulty, just because the layout is kind of complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just too much content. And also, it might take you a second to find the search bar. And they don't even have like a little icon. Like the search icon needs to be used here instead of just search Craigslist, because our brain goes to icons more than words. So, yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do that, find something that interests you.
Let's see what interests me. I would say let's look at art, media, design jobs.
Alright.
Okay.
So now that you've done that task, find something that interests you, how difficult was it actually to do compared to what you thought?
I mean, it wasn't terrible just because they did have the categories laid out relatively clearly with the, if we go back, with like the bolded fonts. But I mean, it did take a second to kind of find it. I do like how if you go back to the page, it shows you in a different color what you've already clicked on. So maybe that could be easier to kind of navigate. But this page is a little bit confusing because I'm kind of unsure about just the different elements. Like, why is there a trash can here? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Where does it go? Why am I putting it in the trash? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's just interesting. Oh, to hide it. Okay, so I didn't know that before I clicked on that page, but now I kind of know you can hide this job for whatever reason you would want to, but that doesn't, I feel like that's kind of unnecessary. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So now that we've done that first task, we're going to do a second one where you browse the selected category for an item you would buy. So you can stay in that same category if you would like. Or you can pick a new category.
Well, I'm looking in the jobs category, so maybe for sale.
Yeah. And before we do it, answer the same question of, does this sound doable and on what scale?
Yeah, it sounds doable. I think maybe like a 1 or a 2 just because it's the second task and I kind of have an idea of how this works now. But yeah. So let's look at jewelry for sale. Okay. I like that they finally are displaying some content that's not just text and that they have the photo option to kind of look through what you're looking for. The newest. One thing here is that that's kind of complicated. Not necessarily complicated, but you might not understand how the arrows are pointing to. So it should have said price low to high and price high to low instead of up and down, you know?
Yeah.
Just for visual. Yeah. £2.5 of jewelry? Is that what that means? I don't even know what that means.
Looks like it.
Not the greatest quality of photos, but...
All right. That's great. And then now that you've done the task, how do you rate the difficulty of that task?
I mean, it's not too difficult. It's definitely not a very user-friendly option to kind of search for it on the main, like through all the main categories, like in here. I would say it's much easier to just search for something you're looking for. I doubt that people are just looking through like, oh, boat parts in general. They probably are just going to search through the search bar. So that needs to be like the main highlighted element on the page is search for the item you're looking for, as opposed to just having all of these very specific and random categories.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's the next category we're looking at is the searching. So we're going to jump into some tasks for that. They're going to be similar to the pre-task questions. However, it's going to involve digging deeper into the usability of the site. Again, I'm going to ask simple questions, and you're going to do your best to try and respond. This time, please take your time and navigate as best as you can to find where on the site you might find the answers to the questions being asked. Let me know if you have any... please let me know if you have anything you find appealing or unappealing about the site when navigating to complete these tasks.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. First task is to search for a laptop in the search bar. And before we do that, we're going to ask the same question of what do you think the expected difficulty for this is on a scale of 1 to 5?
Oh, I think it's probably a 1 now that I've already clearly located the search bar from making myself acquainted with the homepage.
Awesome.
So, yeah. It's interesting that at the beginning it tells you how many there are.
How many what?
How many laptops there are. Like if you just go back, it says 17.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's not super necessary, but maybe kind of a fun detail just to see like how many you're going to potentially be looking at. Well,
So now that you've done the task, what is the end result of the difficulty?
I mean, it wasn't really difficult. I think it's honestly easier to search for an item than look for it in the categories. So that would be my preferred method of searching, for sure.
All right. The second task is to search for a gaming laptop under 1,000 within 50 miles.
Okay.
And what do you think the difficulty is before we do that?
I mean, the difficulty of typing it in and scrolling down the page is not very difficult, but probably to find something like that within 50 miles, I'm not really sure if they would have that, but we will see.
All right.
Within 50 miles. So, okay, I think the first thing I would do is look for a gaming laptop, but then I can put in my miles here, I'm assuming. What was it? 50?
Yep.
From a zip code. I'll put in our zip code. Or you can use the map. Okay, so that's an interesting function. 47906. Okay, they kind of already have that. Choose this location. Okay, so there's one.
And then the second requirement is under 1,000. Is it under 1,000?
Oh, under $1,000. Yes, it is. This one's under $1,000, but you can put it right here, I guess.
Sweet.
Oh, and then there's upstate search bar. I feel like this part is a little bit complicated. I guess I like that they have the condition, but I don't think I would know to click on it right off the bat. Also, I don't know if necessarily, this is from my perspective, also being someone who is a graphic designer and works in web design and development sometimes. So I know that like this little button kind of opens it, but I'm not really sure if that would be general to the everyday user.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that completes that task. How was the difficulty level now that you've done it?
It wasn't too complicated. I think the price and the location should be at the top here. I think the fact that it's in the middle of the page is kind of weird. That should be one of the first things you're looking for is price. I mean, when we're buying something, we want to have it be in between a certain price because you most likely have a budget of how much you want to spend. So since it's a price, it should be like directly linked to the, object, the thing that you're buying. So that should be over here instead of these options: has image, posted today, bundle, duplicates. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So search titles only. I'm not exactly sure what that means either. Yeah, obviously has image and posted today are pretty straightforward, but these other two, I don't know why they're here. And then also this part, I'm not sure why this is here either. So, yeah.
All right, thank you for your feedback.
Mm-hmm.
The next category is buying. These new questions are going to involve a new set of tasks that are slightly different from the last. They're going to focus on the actual process of communication on Craigslist. We are going to explore the procedure of how buyers are able to contact sellers. Just as you did before, please do your best to try and navigate your way through the site to complete these tasks.
Okay.
So the first task is going to be, after finding the gaming laptop, please contact the seller. And we're going to ask, excuse me, what you think the task difficulty is before you do this again.
I'm not exactly sure because I've actually never done this before. I don't think it'll be too difficult because I'm assuming that there's a way to communicate them through this platform, but potentially not. So I'm assuming that it won't be very difficult to contact the seller because that's the entire point of this platform is to contact the buyer with the seller of an object.
So on a scale of 1 to 5?
Probably a 2.
Okay. All right, go ahead and do that.
Okay. So, we're getting more information. We see where he is. And gently used. Okay, this is just information about the laptop, I guess. And now I actually don't know. Do not contact me. How do I contact you, though? Reply. Wait. Reply?
Yes. You should, yeah.
Oh, show email. Okay, so now I have to reply by email. And this is a lot of information here.
I think because it probably hides their real email.
Their email. That's actually smart. Okay.
I don't need you to actually email them, but that's
okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, I'm not interested in this laptop.
So how difficult was that actually?
I mean, it took longer than we expected.
Yeah.
Even though this reply, it doesn't really make sense as to why they would use the word reply. I think maybe what I was looking for in my mind was contact seller. Just because it kind of links the user or the buyer with the seller by using the word seller. It makes more sense than just reply. Reply makes me think that I'm going to comment on a post, or like the word reply is kind of like, oh, just comment something, like reply to an article, reply to a text message, as opposed to like reach out to the seller, contact the seller, show interest in the seller's product.
Yeah.
So I think that's complicated. Also, it's relatively small. And my eye immediately wants to go to the description to find out how to contact him. But that information wasn't given at all, except for this. Do not contact me. But at that point, I didn't even know how to contact him. So that honestly was not very helpful and harder than I expected.
Okay. I want to make sure we're keeping on time for your sake. If you want to check the time real quick on the recording. I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know how to do that, actually. Okay. I think you just click it once we're done.
We can just move forward then.
Okay.
The next task is to please share a product you like. So if you like find a product, there should be a way to share it like with a friend or something.
Oh, okay.
So
just pretend to
real
like
quick, how
subject.
difficult do you think that's going to be? And then we can do that.
Oh, I mean, not too difficult because I already saw like the options appear when we were going through the page. So probably like a 1.
Okay.
So if I just share, I could add it to reading list, mail messages. Let's see, for example. Oh, okay. So I can like type in Ashley and send it. Okay. I feel like that's pretty easy. Adding to your notes, which is interesting. I don't know if it just adds like the link. So that's honestly kind of unnecessary, but.
So now that you've done it on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yeah, it was about a 1.
Perfect. That completes our tasks that we have you perform. Now we have a quick post-session questionnaire.
Great.
We're going to ask you a few questions about your experience during this test. Please answer each question on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree.
Okay.
So we have strong disagree is 1, 3 neutral, and then strong agree is 5. Okay. That makes sense. The system usability scale, I thought the system was easy to use on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being strongly agree.
I would say 2. I don't think it's very easy to use.
I found the various functions in the system were well integrated.
No. A 1.
Okay. I found the system unnecessarily complex.
Yeah, a 2.
Okay. I would imagine that most people would learn to use the system very quickly.
Maybe a 3. I mean, it became slightly easier, and I still had a background of using it in the past, but I still found it kind of challenging to contact the seller. So maybe a 3.
Okay. I think that I would like to use the system frequently.
Based on my personal needs for Craigslist, or based on the platform, like
the platform, like your experience, like how well it is to use, how fun it is, and like the experience with it.
No, it's not very user friendly. I would say probably a 1.5 or a 2.
Okay. I felt very confident using the system.
A 3.
Okay. My last question is, in your own words, how do you feel about Craigslist? You can just do one like quick short sentence. It doesn't have to be much.
I feel like they are lacking important content and are really coming short with user friendliness.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. That's all we need. Your responses are greatly appreciated and will be valuable in our research regarding the Craigslist website.
Thank you.
Thank you.